We're live in the studio is the independent member for Indi, Helen Haines. Welcome back to Parliament. Congrats again on your big win.
Thank you very much, Kieran. It's lovely to be back.
You've got to focus on higher education, I believe, and I want to ask you about that in a second.
Sure.
But can I ask you first about the Barnaby Joyce bill? What do you make of it as a regional MP? What the Nats are doing on that?
Well, I think this is a diabolical move from the National Party. I represent a large regional community, large agricultural base, and the message from Indi loud and clear is that we need evidence-based action on climate change, which includes net zero. So I'm really surprised by this. I don't think that this is a positive move. I want to see the kind of action that engages with regional communities such as mine. Rural people need to have a seat at the table about how we do the rollout of renewables, for example, but abolishing net zero is not the way to achieve that. When
you hear the Nats complaining about the rollout and talking about this social upheaval that they believe is being caused by it in some regional communities. Do you see any of that?
Yes, of course I do, and it's why I went to the responsible Minister Bowen in the last Parliament, along with Senator Pocock, to say we've got to do better on this. We need an inquiry on how the big energy companies, the proponents, are engaging with rural communities, because my sense of it is that they were not universally engaging well. And we got the Dyer review as a result of that. We got 9 recommendations out of that, which were fully funded in the budget. That includes developer rating schemes, for example. I'm working really hard on this element. What I'm not seeing from the National Party is a positive response. I didn't see a submission.
This bill includes scrapping Howard-era legislation, and Michael McCormack, Barnaby Joyce, unrepentant on that. They're adamant this is the right course of action.
This is a private member's bill.
To scrap the approach.
Yeah, well, I think they're wrong. This will go nowhere. It is a private member's bill. They will be the only people speaking on it, I imagine, and that will be that. But
unless I guess the government wants to cause a headache for Susan Lee and bring on the debate.
I can't see that happening, Kieran.
You don't think so?
I don't think so, no.
It's not ideal for Susan Lee, though, is it?
Well,
Day one of the question time, you must feel for her in that sense.
Oh, look, I mean, the opposition will do what the opposition does. The coalition will do what the coalition does. That's no business of mine. I get on with trying to solve the problems, and my approach to this was to get a review from the Energy Infrastructure Commissioner, which at the time was Professor Dyer. It's now Tony Marr. I met with Tony yesterday to continue pushing forward on how we can ensure that regional communities see real benefit from the rollout of renewables and that we have really decent engagement with rural communities. That's where I put my emphasis, and I think the National Party should be doing similarly, actually.
On your other focus on the HEX bill and the proposed amendments, I know you moved an amendment at the end of last year. This was about the payment for people having prac placements, like nurses. Can you explain to our viewers where this is at? Who's getting paid for their prac placements, and where do you want that to go?
Well, I think the viewers should know that health professionals, when they're students, when they're training to become doctors, nurses, allied health professionals, have mandatory hundreds of hours in many cases of practical placement for their professional qualification. That is unpaid. Many of them have to leave their hometown and go somewhere else. Many of them have to pay double rent, rent in their hometown and rent in the place where they're doing practical payment, and they experience what we call placement poverty. Now, I was delighted that the government recognised this in the last Parliament, and they are now offering placement payments for a group of health professionals, nurses, midwives, social workers, but they have not included allied health professionals, physios, OT, speech therapists, radiographers, medical students.
And they've all got to do the same?
They've all got to do the same, in some cases more, and they're not being paid. And our health is a team sport. We need all of these health professionals, and nowhere more than in rural and regional Australia. And right now, for those students to go out and do those placements, some of them pull out and don't do them.
So where is this at then?
So where it's at is I secured an amendment to the primary legislation in the last Parliament that mandates that there must be a review of this within 3 years, but really what the crossbench are calling for is greater urgency than that. We're calling on the government, and they could do this, to include these other health professions right now.
And do you want that voted as part of this HEX bill that the government's putting in now?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you had any positive signs from Jason Clare or the government?
Well, this particular amendment is being led by the member for Kooyong, Monique Ryan, so I can't answer whether...
But it does make sense in terms of
it does
broadening it for the other health
Kieran.
professionals, because if they're having to do the prac placement, they shouldn't have to take a bank loan to...
Well, this is right. And in many cases in rural and regional Australia, we have mid-career people. We've got people coming back from another qualification to train in the health sciences. This is exactly what we want. But they have families and mortgages, and then they have to leave home, go and do a mandatory practical placement somewhere else, pay for all of that themselves and not get paid for that time. So, you know, it costs them significant money. Many of them defer their courses. Some of them never return to the course.
Member for Indi, Helen Haines, thanks for joining us. As I say, welcome back.
Thanks very much, Kieran.